Hi, Logan Day, president of the Ohio River Scenic Railway, out here in Evanston, Indiana to talk to you real briefly about railroad crossing and railroad safety. So today I'm at what's called a passive railroad crossing. This has a crossbuck that says railroad crossing, but no lights and no gates. So it's important because our railroad has so many of these passive crossings that you always approach these with care. When you approach the tracks, you want to stop, look, and listen. Stay at least 25 feet back from the tracks when you stop, or at the stop line. Sometimes there is a white line on the road. You want to stop there, look both ways, and listen for the sound of a train. Because remember, a train can come at any time, on any track, traveling in any direction. There's also a ban on passing other vehicles within 100 feet of the railroad crossing, so don't pass when you're approaching a crossing. If your car or vehicle were ever to get stuck on the railroad crossing, the first thing you always want to do is get out of your vehicle and get away. After that, if you approach the railroad crossing sign, you'll see this blue sign that's on every crossing across the United States. And what that does is provide you with a 1-800 number that you can call and a crossing ID number that you can give to the railroad and tell them where your vehicle is stuck. This is the first line of action you should take even before calling 911 if no one's hurt. If they're hurt, you do of course want to get emergency services there, but this will get you directly to the railroad to get them to stop any oncoming train traffic, or at least dispatch to the train to let them know that you're stuck on the tracks. After that point, you can call 911. If you call 911 first to try and stop a train, that adds another link and more time before the train actually gets the message. So remember, this is what's called the emergency notification system sign. Look for the blue sign if you're ever stuck on the crossing. So that's all I have here at the passive crossing. The next video will go to an active crossing and I'll talk about a few more railroad safety details. And I'm out here now at an active railroad crossing. But here's what's important about active crossings. When the gates are down and the lights are flashing, under no circumstances at an active crossing should you ever go around the gates and the lights, or try to beat the train if you see it coming and you think you can make it. Trust me, having been on the train and seen people do that, there's nothing that the engineer can do if you get in the way of the train, and more often than not, the car that goes in front gets hit. So please don't take that bet. So, you've learned about passive crossings, active crossings. Last segment we'll talk about just general railroad safety. So I hope you're having fun and you're staying safe. We'll talk to you soon. Hi, Logan Day again from the Ohio River Scenic Railway. I'm out here talking, now that we've spoken about passive railroad crossings and active railroad crossings, we'll cover the topic of just general railroad safety. So the first thing to remember is that railroad property is all private property, so you should never be on railroad property without permission. Make sure that you stay away from the tracks. A good rule of thumb is 30 feet away, unless you're a railroad worker or have a reason to be there. That just generally ensures your safety if there's ever a train passing. Now, anytime that you have to cross a railroad track and you're not in your vehicle, so you're out walking or riding a bike, you always want to do that at a public grade crossing or at a pedestrian crossing. Any other place is not safe, as you may not have advance warning of a train coming. So in the case of being on the road, cross where the road is or where the sidewalk crosses the tracks. Now, one very important thing is that you should never ever walk on the rail or between the rails. And again, staying 30 feet away is also another rule of thumb to keep you safe. But on the rails, when it rains out, that can become very slick, and even when it's not wet, that's a slick and dangerous way for you to fall, and we want to keep people safe. And between the rail, even railroad workers are not supposed to be between the rail or walking on the rails, so make sure you never do those two things. One thing that it's a little bit of a sensitive topic because we've gotten used to it a lot. We see a lot of these, but you should never take photos on a railroad track. Sometimes you see senior photos or just general family photos on a railroad track. The problem is that even if you have permission to be on a track that's, say, abandoned, or even if it's used, people that see those pictures might duplicate that action and be on a track that's active. And we've seen and heard about accidents, and we don't ever want that to happen. So as a rule of thumb, you should never be taking pictures on a railroad track. As cool as they look, it is generally unsafe. Last, and also a very important thing, and this is why we've chosen this location where you can see parked railroad equipment behind us. You never ever want to crawl or climb under, above, through standing railroad equipment. So perhaps it's a train that's blocking a crossing and you're riding your bike and walking. You don't want to try to make up time by crawling through the train or under the train. It could start moving at any time. That's very dangerous. And same thing with parked equipment. You should never be on it because, again, you're trespassing, and it is also dangerous to be up and under. You could fall, or it equipment and you're just not aware. So please don't do that. This is how we can stay safe together. We look forward to coming to the community and having a fun, safe time. So make sure you follow all of the steps that we've provided for staying safe at railroad crossings and on the railroad. And if you should ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us by emailing us at info@ohiorivertrain.com. Thanks, and we look forward to seeing you soon.